Hello, this is my book review for Voice Catchers. So, Voice Catchers is a book that discusses smart home devices and how they can capture your voice and use that for different marketing techniques and to build up a profile on you. So, the book starts by going into some of the kind of general topics on this issue and the different things they can track and what it's used for, and then sort of the history. And one thing that really surprised me was how many kind of physical characteristics they can tell about you based off just your voice, which I thought was really surprising. They can do things like weight, height, heart rate, and if you have any like serious health conditions, which is kind of crazy to me. And the biggest thing is that it can kind of even do a 3D recreation of your face, which I think is kind of really creepy that they have that technology to do that. And this is all this information is sorted using AI, and this technology came out 10 years ago, so they have a lot of time to kind of progress and build up a database and mark these different characteristics. Another thing that really surprised me was how Amazon, I guess Amazon is one example, but how they are planning on making many different smart devices to track even more of this information. Like, for example, they had ideas of making like a smart thermostat, smart clock, smart microwave, doorbell, like everything in your life would be kind of like a smart version. And that would help build up even more of a profile for you. And another thing that surprised me was that all this information, I guess, how do I describe it? I guess like how undercover all this information is, and how I knew that smart devices were kind of like listening to you, but I didn't realize how kind of in depth they could go and how they could tell a lot more about me than I ever thought. Like, I thought they were just listening to like what I bought, my past purchases, and what I might be interested in the future, just kind of all marketing and product based, but I didn't know they were actually having like a whole in-depth characteristics about myself, which I thought was really, really kind of like the creepiest part of it all. Moving on to the second question, I definitely feel like this technology is very much exploits us, especially building like a physical profile, and how it can go into checking different diseases like Alzheimer's and ALS. And I feel like that's like using, like if someone has bad health or has these diseases, they're using this as a selling point to sell technology. And so instead of maybe trying to help, they're trying to get your money, which I thought was really kind of creepy. And I think a good change to this would be kind of selling the list of physical characteristics you have, like selling that technology to a medical company, and maybe using that voice recognition for like telehealth. And if you call, you can take calls from developing countries that might not have access to the same healthcare, and just by them talking on the phone and getting their voice, they can tell kind of like the biometrics, the weight and height, and if they have any disease that they might need to take care of. And I think that would be a much more positive use for this technology, especially because it's more of a people are more consenting. And I think that could help save lives instead of just being used to make money. And the third thing, I want to focus on Amazon because they're, I think, one company that is used a lot in this space, because not only does everyone use them to sell things, they also have the Echo, which tracks your voice, but then they're directly linked to the sales. So I think that they have they also have the most ideas for the future and making everything kind of this really personal stuff. And I think as a client, you kind of see it as two ways. There are the people who kind of value this personalization and the efficiency, and they just want everything to be taken care of for them, which is especially like really busy people and like executives and wealthy people already kind of have that. They have the ease and convenience of people doing things for them. They don't have to do as much of the menial tasks which this could take care of. But I don't think a lot of people prioritize that in their life. A lot of people do want the privacy and be able to control what people know about them, which is impossible with this technology, as they kind of just built up a user profile on you. And I think both of those things need to be taken into consideration because they very much deflect each other. And there's very limited regulations for this information that they can build up. So it's really hard for the person who does prioritize their privacy to kind of get that protection. It's not like you can consent in, or even if you do, you can't use the technology otherwise. A lot of that, like for example, websites that use cookies, a lot of them are essential websites that you need for your work or your job or for school. You can't use them unless you accept the cookies. So it's kind of like, do I give them my privacy or do I just not use this website? That's the same with a lot of different things. And I think it's definitely good to be aware of all of these behaviors and technologies, because I know I wasn't at first before reading this book, because I know that companies track you and your past behaviors and website visits, but voice is a little personal, because you might not. It's very intentional when you go to a website or you buy something. It takes a lot, but just to say something to Alexa or Siri or whatever, it takes a lot more. It's much easier. It's more fluid, so you're not kind of keeping track on every single thing you do or say, and especially like inflection and voice, and like you can't control the way you sound, and that information is being used. It's not like a behavior or something you choose to do. It's just something that exists as a part of your identity. I think the fact that it's so personal, that's what makes it that extra step past things like cookies, and it's such part of your identity that they're exploiting for commercial gain. And I think it's important that everyone who uses these devices, especially in a serious manner, know these things. Because not only can they know what products you like, but they can make a physical profile, a mental profile on you, on a range of different things, which can be hard to think about when dealing with this. Luckily, I don't use any smart devices like voice assistants or anything. I think this could be more of a problem as artificial intelligence and these types of devices advance, because I don't use them because I don't think they're as useful as they could be. Half the time I ask Siri for a question and she doesn't give me the answer I'm looking for. Or it takes me to a website or it takes me to a different thing. It's not as fluid as I want it to be, and I think as this technology progresses, it's going to be more dangerous. Like I said earlier, Amazon would make a smart microwave, but then that will be a part of every house in 15 years. I think then it'll be harder to escape. I think now it's easier, like, oh yeah, I just don't have a smart home device. It's easier to avoid, but I think in the future when these things become more household and more advanced, then it'll be harder to avoid all of these trackers and technologies, because they even said in the article that it's not used for advertising yet. Like, you don't hear a 30-second ad when you're using your smart device, which could be a reality in the future. Like you see on YouTube videos or just advertisements on websites, like that could be a part of your home and your space, which I think could be invasive, because like you don't have a poster of McDonald's like advertisement on your wall as decoration. So why would you invite that into your home um, as part of your environment in an audible way? Like, I'm not gonna try to invite those advertisements in. So I think it's definitely important to take these things in consideration, especially as technology advances.